Hey everybody, welcome to Aimee Music. I've been playing my Korg SB1 lately, so I thought that would be a fun instrument to do my video on today. This is about 5 common mistakes in jazz, or 5 things to avoid in jazz improv. And I thought I'd just start by playing a tiny little solo for you over All the Things You Are. It's one of my favorite standards. It's a really fun one to do. And the first thing I want to talk about is the use of, we can call them a lot of things. We can call them bends, we can call them scoops, we can call them blue notes, we can call them grace notes, but basically I'm talking about this and this, the overuse of playing 2 notes at a time that are a half step apart because you think that it's jazz. It's just, it's just a little mistake that I see just about everybody make who starts to play jazz. I mean, you grow up probably, playing more classical music, probably not on an organ, but very proper, nice technique. And it's like as soon as you start to play jazz or blues, you feel like it gives you license to just play all of these grace notes, bends, blue notes. Blue notes probably isn't right. I mean, blue notes usually refer to what is in a blues scale, but it's like the act of trying to imitate a guitar, an instrument that actually can bend. I like to argue that a piano can bend or an organ can bend, but in a slightly different way, and I'd like to give you alternatives. So I think that when people want to improvise, like say they want to do that. They want to play, we're on A flat and they'd like to play, right, 3, 2, 1, 6. But what they end up doing is trying to make this 3 sound like you're playing on a guitar. And they hit both these notes right together at the same time with the same force. And it ends up just not sounding clean to me. So I would like to provide an alternative for you. I'd like to tell you, if you're going to use a scoop like this or a makeshift bend, that you do it very quickly. And do it with 2 different fingers. Don't land on it with the same finger, but treat it like, like it's technical. It is technical. And you can do it with a little bit of grace and call it a grace note if you wish. I like that. I also like to scoop up sometimes by using two half steps coming into it, especially on an organ. Doesn't that sound tasty? But you got to do it with 3 different fingers, and you got to do it cleanly and quickly. See how nice and fast that is? I really like that approach rather than hitting 2 notes at the same time. Take it for what you will. I know you can hear players that will do it. They'll play both notes at the same time, and it can work. I just think people overuse it, and it might be a nicer choice to do a scoop kind of in this fashion instead. I'll try to use it right now. There you go, a little example. All right, the next thing that I notice is that people tend to swing backwards. Now, I've got a whole video, maybe 2 videos about how I like to swing. The first one's called How to Freaking Swing. I can't remember what the second one's called. I'll put links to both of them in the description. But it's this notion that you want to accent every offbeat, every upbeat, every and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you learned that in middle school. I know you do. I know your band teachers taught you to play jazz that way in middle school and probably high school too, maybe even college. But if I were to do that, all of a sudden my solo goes from sounding like what I think is pretty swinging and pretty clean, to sounding like this. Actually can't demonstrate this on an organ. Let me switch over to the piano. All of a sudden you go from going da da do boo da do 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 da do to going da ba do 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 ba. And I just think it's the squarest thing I've ever heard in my life. So you really want to approach your swing feel much more like a classical player than your middle school band director. No hard feelings, Mr. Thompson or whatever. Like, he meant well, and somebody taught him that way, and he just probably never got a chance to be a gigging musician, and that's a shame. I wish that all teachers could do both and get the experience of, playing in the real world so that they could avoid, just teaching kids little mistakes that end up making them sound, frankly, backward. I'm going to play the piano again. This is the wrong way. I can hardly do it. And this is the right way. Actually giving much attention to the quarter note. If I'm going to accent and hold on to anything, it's probably going to be on the beat. Now, it depends, because the top of a contour can get the accent. Here, the B flat, that's the top of the contour. So it's going to get the accent. Like that. The top note of a contour can have an accent. The first note can have an accent. It's kind of hard to tell you exactly where to accent. The last note of a contour often gets an accent just because you do accent the last note. But watch my videos about swing feel and understand how not to swing backward. The next thing I want to talk about is repeated notes and quarter note triplets. I'm going to combine them into one because it's a mistake that I see. Both things are mistakes that I see often. So sometimes when people take a solo, they'll, let's switch over to the Rhodes just because let's use all the sounds today. So sometimes you'll see people go. It's okay to repeat a note once in a while, but sometimes it becomes a crutch. It becomes like comfortable and a habit that can be really hard to break. And when you listen to professional jazz players play, they're not often repeating a note. Sometimes you'll hear them like this. You might hear it like that, kind of punchy, like a big band, and in moderation, that's going to be just fine. But if you find yourself repeating notes often, tell yourself to cut it out for a little while. You might bring it back later on and develop your own style. Like, it's possible, but I don't know. I've been told when I was coming up that it's a good idea to avoid playing the same note over and over. Another one is that people, especially vocalists, get in this pattern of singing quarter note triplets. And it's like, it's the idea of this 3/4 kind of rhythm, which is really cool. And I feel like musicians, once they reach a certain level, they'll probably learn this or teach themselves this and think that it's pretty hip. And it is hip in the right circumstance and can be hip in a solo as well. But if you find yourself it's just too many quarter note triplets. If you can, use it sparingly. There, I slipped some in here and there. That can be really tasty. But if you find yourself going like on and on and on ad nauseum with quarter note triplets, yeah, maybe don't. Another thing I want to talk about is something that I don't see from pianists real often. I see it from guitar players and bass players mostly, and I don't want to hammer on you guys too hard because I love you. But I know that you learn your instruments with this little device, a pentatonic scale. And the pentatonic scale is great. It can be used for a lot of things. It is used in like every rock solo you just about ever heard, right? It's a very easy way to get yourself around the fingerboard of a guitar or of a bass, and it works. Like say I wanted to take this C minor pentatonic scale and play the same song in the same key. I probably could do it for a while anyway. At least until that point, I could. But did that have very much meaning to you? I mean, it didn't to me. I wasn't trying to put my soul into it. I was just trying to take a scale that I knew and not play any notes that would conflict with the harmony that my left hand was holding down. And you can also, do this in a way where if you start in F minor, which I'm doing, you can play the F minor pentatonic, right? Then you could change to the B flat minor pentatonic. You could totally do that. But if you need to rely on scales, and we do sometimes, we need to know our major scales, we need to know our minor scales, we need to know our diminished scales and our whole half, what's it called? The diminished whole tone scale. It's a great one. There are a lot of scales that can help you to play sounding more like a jazz musician than just pentatonics. And even there, I wasn't just playing scales, which leads me to my next point. Number 5 is that people rely on scales too much, scales and arpeggios. And they don't rely on their heart or their ear enough. They don't make motifs that people can latch onto, understand, start to even predict. Right? That's just a little idea that I had, and I decided to keep it going into the next key. I don't remember exactly what I did. Something like that. But after you heard me play it once, I could have just gone on and played other stuff, and you probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. But the second that I did it again, maybe as a listener, it made you feel connected to me. Maybe it made you even feel a little bit smart, because you might have thought, is she going to do that again? Oh yeah, she did it again, but she changed it a tiny bit. Maybe it took you on the journey with me a little bit. And then, I have to play again, and I might take it and make a variation out of it, like Bach might have done if Bach was a swinging man, and I kind of like to believe that he was, in some ways. But to take your motif, turn it into something else, actually remember what you played well enough to play it again and again, and to have the confidence to say, yes, that was a good idea. I'd like to try it again. I'd like to develop it, right? I'd like to develop it into something bigger, something meaningful. And this brings me to my class that I've created on Nebula about creating motifs for jazz improvisation. Because maybe you listen to me say this right now. Right? Maybe you listened to me play that and you thought, yeah, Aimee, that's a strong idea. It's a pretty idea, but how the heck am I ever going to come up with one of those? Well, that's exactly what this class does. It gives you 13 different ways for you to create your own strong motifs. I give you really practical ideas, and to the best of my ability, I give you a chance to try it out while you watch my class. To sing ideas and see what comes out of you. If you don't feel comfortable singing, to kind of whistle some ideas, to find the note that you hear in your head, the idea that wants to come out of you, to come out in your fingers, no matter what instrument you play. You can get it if you click the code that you see on the screen here for a really low price. Nebula is a platform that I've created with a bunch of other creators from YouTube. We all create content for Nebula that is extra from what we put on YouTube, sometimes completely extra videos or bonus videos, also bonus content. A lot of times you'll see me put out a video on YouTube. It'll be on Nebula first, at least 24 hours ahead of time. You know, all of the videos that have a tiny little lightning bolt in the corner on Nebula are videos that have come out before they'll ever come out on YouTube. There's also a little plus that you'll see in the corner. That means it's content that will never be on YouTube. This class that I have created is in the tab you'll see called Nebula Classes. I have this class, I have the 2-part class called Everything I Know About Chords, Part 1 and Part 2, and I have a really fun class that I shot with my friend Adam Neely called Aimee and Adam Play the Blues. Clicking on the code will get you Nebula. That's the entire platform. It's like Netflix, but for educational content with no ads ever, for $30 for the entire year. Or for the month of September only, $300 will get you a lifetime subscription to Nebula. Kind of like I did in 2006 with SiriusXM. You guys, I paid $300 in 2006 and I've had SiriusXM I'll have it the rest of my life. One of the best decisions I ever made. I love SiriusXM. You pay $300 today, anytime in the month of September, you get it for life. It's a really great deal. Or, if you'd like to pay less than that, like I said, $30 gets you Nebula for the entire year. You get the entire platform, all of my classes, every single thing. And we'll talk about this kind of stuff. I had such a fun time talking to you today about the things that I think are, common little mistakes that people make when they're starting out, or even kind of intermediate in jazz improv. Of course, every one of these things, if I wanted to, I could probably make it work. I think I did. There are no absolutes in this. That's one of the things that I absolutely love about jazz. It's creativity, it's spontaneity, it's in the moment, and it's from what's inside of you. So, if you like to do these things, go ahead, do them. I just think they're overused, and I'd like to see you branch out and get some new habits if these happen to be your habits. Thanks everybody so much for watching. I'll see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.